Today I'm going to talk about my 80-20 rule, how to invest 20% of every dollar you make, and this is how you create real wealth. What's up, everybody? This is Jimmy Rex, and today I want to talk about how to create wealth. This is one of the things that I wish I had understood better when I was younger, and it's a topic that I get asked about a lot as far as kind of what's your best strategy to kind of start building up a portfolio or doing things to create wealth. And so what I wanted to talk about a little bit with my own story, what I did wrong, a couple things I didn't understand very well, and then kind of what I've been doing that's kind of helped me over the last 10 years. So when I was younger, I wanted to create wealth. I wanted to, get rich quick. I wanted to have money at a young age and all those things, but I didn't really understand the principles. And one of the things that I've learned over time that I'll start out with is true wealth creation is probably going to be boring. So the first thing I'll say is the things you say no to is going to be much more important than the things that you say yes to. As you start to make money, you start to have a little bit of success, you'll have a lot of people will come to you with their agenda. They're going to try to pitch you on their company, their product, their investment, their whatever, their property, all these different things. But ultimately, you need to know ahead of time what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, so you don't just start throwing money at bad ideas. When I was 23 is when I got into real estate, started to have some success. And I assumed as a young 23-year-old that people were just good. I assumed that people wouldn't try to take advantage of me. And I cannot tell you how many times it took getting taken advantage of before I finally learned that that was actually not a thing. So I once met, so when I first started, again, getting money, I had a person that my brother was very close with. He actually was his ecclesiastical leader in his church. And this person, I found out was, that you could invest money with them and they would return you X amount of money every month. It sounded good. I just kind of trusted the whole thing. And long story short, it was a Ponzi scheme. I put $50,000 into this Ponzi scheme. Another guy I sold a house to, he was a very prominent person in the community. He was building dental clinics all over the country, apparently. And I gave him $50,000 again to invest in this dental clinic. And they would break down these spreadsheets, and I didn't understand any of it. I didn't know what I was looking for or looking at. But I just thought, that sounds cool. Sounds like a good way to earn some money. Put 50 grand in a dental clinic. They never even built the damn thing. So I invested in, one thing after another. I would buy real estate, not understanding how to do it. I invested in the stock market. I remember when I was 19 years old, I put my life savings, and I'm telling you these stories just so you understand that I'm telling you this from experience, both good and bad, what I've learned. I am not the perfect example of how to do this. I simply have learned what not to do and then what to do, and I can explain that in a minute. But so when I was 19 years old, I'd saved up my life savings at the time. I think it was like $5,000, $6,000, and I gave it to my parents' stock trader guy, right? That was a thing back then. And 2 years later, I went on my Mormon mission. When I came home 2 years later, much to my dismay, I had like $1,600 left in that account. It had gone from $6,000 to like $1,600. That was when the dot-com bubble and all that happened. And the craziest part of that one to me was I had to pay this guy like a 5 or 10% fee to pull out the rest of my money. Even though he lost 2/3 of my money, I still had to pay this guy to get my money out of the account. And that to me was crazy. But so I kind of learned the hard way through a lot of these bad examples what not to do. And I started reading a lot, trying to understand better what to do. I read a lot of books about investing, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor. I read The Richest Man in Babylon, The Millionaire Next Door, Dave Ramsey and Tony Robbins' book Unshakable and Money Makeover and all these other things. And I started to really try to understand what the smart people were doing. I started collecting better friends around me, advisors, people that would help me understand what to do better. And the first thing that I learned, number one, and this is Warren Buffett's rule, it's right in front of all of us. The richest guy tells us what to do. He said, rule number one is don't lose money. Rule number one, don't lose money. And so all the time, whenever you're thinking about an investment opportunity, you want to ask yourself, the first thing is, what is the downside? If I can lose money, if the worst case scenario is I lose all my money, do not do that thing. The second thing that I didn't understand when I was younger, I learned this from a guy named Greg Warnock, and he runs a big fund here in Utah called Mercado Partners. It's a huge investment fund. They've done amazing things. You can look it up. And he said, Jimmy, the problem with most people is they invest in kind of whatever comes to them. They only get pitched in their life, the average person, 10 to 15 things. It's the people they know, their neighbors, or brother-in-law, whoever it might be. He said, we vet over 300 opportunities for each one we actually invest in. And so the average person just simply isn't looking at enough companies to actually have success investing in a private company. And what I've learned is even if a company does well, even if a company succeeds, you have to understand the exit strategy or the way you're going to get paid by that fund or that company in order to make it a profitable thing. So, you can invest in, like a fun little project, or some kind of, I had a buddy that wanted to open a clothing store, and, he told me all about it. And luckily, when I went and got my master's degree in 2013 from Arizona State, the one thing I learned in that business school was how to read an opportunity, how to read spreadsheets, how to what the right questions to ask for. And I asked him all these questions and realized very quickly, even if this thing works, I'm probably not going to get any money out for 7, 8, 10 years. And even if it works, my return's not going to be as good as it would be just investing in the stock market or some real estate. So I explained this all to him. Well, 6 months later, he shut his doors. The guy that invested lost all of his money. And so a couple things you want to look for. Number one is, what is the ultimate exit strategy? What am I trying to do here? I suggest that you should absolutely have a plan for what you're trying to do with investing. With the people that we sell homes to, my real estate team, we sold 187 homes last year to investors. And every single one of them, we sit down and we have a strategy session. What are you trying to accomplish? What do you want to come out of this? What are your goals with investing in real estate? And ultimately remember that it's a boring long-term play. Wealth creation is much different than trying to make money through investing. If you're trying to make money with investing, that means that you pay a lot more attention to what's the 1 or 2 year plan. But wealth creation takes time. My personal strategy is if I own, X amount of real estate now in my 30s, I put them all on 15, 20-year loans or even 30-year loans. But by the time I'm 50, 55, I'll have it all paid off. With appreciation and everything else, I'll have $10 or $20 million worth of real estate paid off by the time I'm 50 years old. I now have 13 properties. I've been over time collecting a couple properties every single year. And now, no matter what my worst case scenario, I can squander every other dollar I make in my life, but at age 50, 55, I'll still be able to retire off my real estate. And that's simply why I love real estate more than anything else. That being said, I love to invest in private companies as well. But you have to remember one of the most important principles in investing is you're investing in the person, not in the company or the idea. So whoever's in charge, whoever is running that thing is the person that you're investing in. I never give my money to a good idea. People pitch me all the time, and some of the ideas sound amazing. But if they haven't already done it a couple of times before, the odds that they'll have a successful sell of that company and I'll be able to actually get some money are so little, I just can't afford to lose my money or to put my money in something that's not going to grow it. So I'm taking this all together, and the main thing I want you to understand is if somebody's bringing an opportunity to you and you're not already a bigwig in your world or in your life, there's a reason this made its way to you, because a lot of people that are a lot smarter than you with investing have already passed on it. The banks have passed on it, the hedge funds have passed on it, the partnerships have passed on it. And so it's coming down to the only thing they can do is try to get money from anybody that's possible. Know that that is a bad way to invest your money. Safest way to invest your money is, number one, is don't lose anybody. Number two is play the low game. And this is where I want to bring this all back. So if you're saying, like, okay, well, I don't even have any money. So here's what changed my life. In 2010, I had made and lost a couple $1,000,000 in real estate. And not lost, I'd spent it or invested it poorly in these ideas and other things. The market had collapsed, lost some money on that. But what I did in 2010 is I decided to start putting every single check that I got, when my assistant would get the check, he would put 80% into my account, 20% would go into a different bank, an investment account. And then I never saw the 20%. I learned to live on 80%. If you take nothing else away from this entire video, this is the part I want you to think about. Live on 80% or 70% if you can, or 60% if you can, whatever it is, but at least 20% of every dollar you make should go into an investment account. And then every time you get enough money in that account to either buy a new real estate property with 20% down or invest in a good opportunity that comes to you, something that's been vetted by people smarter than you, then you make another investment. And when I started doing that, it didn't take that long before all of a sudden I had quite a bit of money building up. I was able to buy a property. So to this day, every single time I get a check, I live on the 80%, I invest the 20%, immediately goes into my investment account. It's crazy how quickly that can build up. So that's my number one piece of advice, is learn to live on a much smaller percentage of your income than you are, And that one account, I set up at a different bank. I literally didn't have access to that bank. My assistant was the only one that had access to it for years because I knew I'd spend it if I had access to it. But take that money and use that as your vehicle to buy real estate, to invest in the stock market, to invest in whatever you decide to build up your portfolio. But that's the number one way to create wealth. And over time, it's crazy how much you can build up. I hope this is helpful. I've learned the hard way. I've learned some things not to do. Also, stay out of debt. That's an important one. The average person, I think, has $22,000 of debt and only of like credit card debt in the U.S. So like from age like 19 to 45 or something, and they have only $8,000 in savings. So first thing to do is get rid of your debt, and then start building this up, this portfolio. Over time, you'll look back in 5, 6, 10 years. You won't believe what you've been able to build through real estate and investing, doing it the right way.